How's it going, YouTube? V here, and we're back at it again in another reaction video. And this time we're gonna continue our conversation about PlayStation canceling their disc production and how they just simply don't care about who decides to go against it, who is voicing their annoyances online, who keeps making fun of them. They don't care. They already been having this plan set in motion, and whether you and I want this or not, which I don't, it is what it is, right? They're gonna be moving on, and they don't care. And we're gonna talk about the why here. As you guys already know, in the beginning of this month, Sony made the infamous decision or announcement that they were gonna cut off the disc production for their games, and of course, the internet and their mothers are not happy. Yet, we're gonna see that even in spite of everybody voicing their opinions against Sony, in spite of people unsubscribing from PS Plus and costing Sony money, in the large scope of things, Sony's not gonna care. If you guys like this video, please hit the like button. If you guys like the kind of videos I create, please consider subscribing. If you guys think that I'm being too harsh or too direct or too blunt or whatever your opinions are, hit the comments down below. But without further ado, let's begin. So we're going to start with an article by Eurogamer. Sony has already started repurposing its lone PlayStation disc factory. And the body of physical gaming isn't even called factory, oh no. The last remaining factory where Sony makes its physical disc is already being repurposed, just days after the company announced it was ceasing physical game production. According to Ulf Sandsberg, a national Australian outlet, the 300-odd employees at Sony's Staljau production plant will keep all their jobs in the wake of the news, which is good. They'll also be retrained to create microlens rather than physical discs, which is sad. Optical microlenses, for what it's worth, are key components used in managing power consumption and bandwidth bottlenecks, and are used in headsets and other devices that require precise light control. So you can see why an electronic giant like Sony will need them across its business. Yeah, we don't care. We just care about the disc, right? The plant produces 600,000 discs per year, though according to Ulf Salzberg, this figure is expected to decrease significantly as Sony moves away from the physical disc production. Hjalmar Tanser, the CEO of Sony DADC, the Sony company makes the discs, provided the outlet with more insight. He claims that this shift by Sony, the factory's upcoming orders are a mere 10% of what they usually are, which makes the retraining a no-brainer. Crazy. Yeah, crazy. So this tells you guys even before the announcement was made, they already had made up their mind, right? And they said they're going to commit to it because they really believe that there's such a large audience and platform on here that even if a few people leave, that overall they're going to be in a strong position anyway. We're going to get into that later. Sony has been planning this end-to-disc manufacturing for some time. According to company management who spoke to Ulf Salzberg, 30 million euros was invested into new technology to create microlenses, which will become a new business area according to Sony DADC head Markus Streibel. And as The Verge points out, the factory in Taljau appears to be the last remaining disc factoring plant for Sony. It has been producing them in the USA previously, but the New Jersey plant was shuttered in 2011. Such the ball is already rolling for a true death of physical gaming on PlayStation while the body isn't even cold. With this factory being repurposed, there will no longer be any producer PlayStation disc present around the world. Since Sony is the only company able to create this disc, it's not as though another company could pick up the mantle. Okay, yeah, this is terrible. So this basically tells you that no matter how many people protest online, I mean, they already made the decision. Damn shame. But this is another example of corporations being greedy, and the corporate greed never ends, right? Like they, instead of being grateful to the many players and to the many people that have, migrated to the PlayStation platform and given them money, they decide that now, that they can do whatever they want, and it's gone into their heads. A repeat of the PlayStation 3 era where they thought they could sell you PlayStation 3s for $600, right? But we're going to look at another article, right? This one by IGN. This is going to explain to you why, in spite of the protest, and listen, let me be upfront, right? You guys know my thoughts against corporations, against the greed, against everything, just trying to take money out of you, right? So if you ask me, everybody, let's keep canceling PlayStation Plus subscriptions. Let's keep sending a message out, right? let's all fight back in this way by canceling our memberships and not giving them any money. Let's keep doing it. Even if it's just 1%, 2% of people, 3% of players, let's stick to our principles, right? However, you gotta be realistic in this world we live in this dystopia, and acknowledge that this really won't be, unfortunately, it won't be a big thing, and it's not really gonna sway some corporation as powerful as Sony has become, right? But we'll see. Now, this article by IGN, they now wait for the storm to pass. PS5 owners are canceling PlayStation Plus subscriptions to protest Sony killing discs, but analysts say it won't make any difference. Sony will now reverse this decision. PS5 owners are canceling their PlayStation Plus subscriptions in protest at Sony's controversial decision to stop releasing games on physical discs, but the gesture will not force the console maker to change its mind, analysts says. Sony has drawn a huge amounts of online criticism for PlayStation owners, upset the move to an all-digital future for all new PS5 games launched from January 2020 onwards, something that's almost certain to also continue on PlayStation 6, which is why I'm not getting one. A high-profile petition calling on Sony to reconsider its decision has now reached over 200,000 signatures, which it's nothing, unfortunately. And in the past few days, PS5 users have taken social media to share screenshots of canceled PS Plus subscriptions. But speaking to IGN, Dr. Serkan Total, CEO of Japanese game industry consultancy firm Content Games, suggests that even if 500,000 people cancel their PlayStation Plus subscription in protest, it will be just a drop in the ocean for Sony, which is not going to change its mind. And see, here's the point I was getting into, right? But let's continue. I sympathize with physical media fans, but Sony will now reverse this decision, Total told IGN. They of course knew what the online reaction would look like, and they now wait for the storm to pass. Sony has over 120 million active PlayStation users, guys. He continued. At around 50 million people subscribe to PlayStation Plus, so that's almost half of it, right? As a thought experiment, let's say 500,000 cancel in protest. That would be just 1% of that business gone. Of course, not enough to Sony to start rethinking. Digital is just too lucrative. That's kind of what I was saying, guys. Like, even if 1 million people just give up PlayStation Plus, again, I say stick to your principles and send the message out, right? Save yourselves the money. Don't support Sony. Go for it, right? However, be aware that in spite of your protesting, right, it's not gonna make a difference, unfortunately, for Sony, right? And so now you might say, what's the point? Why am I gonna give this up? Whatever. Because again, why would you want to give this company your own money? Listen, if the whole world wants to give them money and be fools themselves, then let them. But if you strongly oppose this transition to a diskless society, then protest by not giving them your money and don't support the ecosystem. I'm not giving them a penny. I'm not subscribed to PS Plus. I'm not giving them any cents. So whether they reverse their decision or not, don't support the Sony ecosystem. So, of course, digital downloads are now dominate video game sales, and Sony can be seen as simply reflecting the prevailing state of its customers. But as Total states, there's also a huge financial advantage to this move, which saves on manufacturing and distribution costs. Ensures it no longer pays a portion of sales to retailers and captures more platform fees on the sale of third-party games via the PlayStation Store. It's worth breaking the economics down a bit more detail to see why a tiny percentage of canceled subscriptions likely makes little difference to Sony's bottom line. For first-party PlayStation games such as Last of Us, Sony will only keep around 65% of the money from physical copy, with around 30% going to retailer and roughly another 5% on manufacturing costs. So basically, they keep about 2/3, right? Meanwhile, for a physical copy of a third-party game such as the Activision published Call of Duty, Sony will get a licensing fee of likely around 15%. So they get, in that case, I guess they get half the profits, right? Like 50%. For digital downloads, however, the margins are much higher. For first-party games sold via Sony's own PlayStation Store, the company obviously keeps 100% of revenue. For third-party games such as Call of Duty, meanwhile, Sony keeps a 30% cut, so roughly $21 for a $70 game. I do think Sony will respond in some capacity given the backlash, and to be honest, shouldn't have announced this until they were ready to disclose how the disc will work on PS6, said Daniel Ahmad, Director of Research and Insights at Nico Partners, via post on X Twitter, but I'd be surprised if they do a full reverse at this point. The current profit margin has been too weak for years now, so they feel like they must act. Total concluded, from an economic perspective, digital sales just make too much sense, especially for platform holders. So yeah, ultimately, guys, again, another example of two sides of the coin, right? I can understand why they're doing it, the math, the financial aspect of it. And listen, corporations just answers to their CEOs and their shareholders. That's really all they care about. Therefore, it's a no-brainer for them. If they're losing 50% to retail and manufacturing and the licensing fees for third-party games, and they're losing a third, so about 35% from retailers and manufacturing cost for their own first-party games, going from that to 100% for the first party and to a lot higher on third party under monopoly, which they're basically doing with the PlayStation Store. I get it from a corporation standpoint, it makes absolute sense. However, it does come at the cost of us, the players, right? And game preservation and us wanting to keep our games and being able to play them 10, 20, 30 years in the future. And make no mistake, this is just the beginning, guys. Nintendo's already doing the keycard thing, right? So it wouldn't be surprising to me if Nintendo eventually follows the same route. And the biggest problem of it all, like this article said, even a best, let's say 1 million players give the middle finger to Sony and unsubscribe and they switch over to a different platform, the reality is there will still be 119 million PlayStation users, right? And 59 million PS Plus subscribers. The thing you must understand about human nature is that humans hate discomfort. Most people are lazy. Most people want a very easy, simple, non-complicated life, right? And that does involve their games, which is why digital has even gained traction. People would prefer the convenience of being able to play their game overnight just by logging in their console, not even having to get up and insert the disc, right? Guys, we even got self-driving cars. Come on, people won't even want to drive. So does this really surprise you, fellas? So what can you do, right? Again, what course of action can you take? Buy the discs that are already on sale for both PS4 and PS5. Build your little catalog. And yeah, do that while you can still get games, right? If you're getting any of the new games, right, like say Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2, Marvel's Wolverine, even though don't get me started on that one, etc., right? If you're going to get any games, get them on disc while you still can. Either the new games or existing games, right? Get them while you still can. PS5, PS4, whatnot. Because once this goes live, remember, more discs sell, and there's only a finite amount left of older, previously released games, right? So build your collection now before the scalpers decide to increase them, right? I would also advise don't buy any more PlayStation hardware. Don't get any more consoles, controllers, nothing like that. Instead, join the PC ecosystem. Get yourself a PC. And even though I do understand it can be expensive as well, I guess at least you get to retain ownership of your games, right? And you get to at least rightfully own them for the many decades to come. But also outside of that, look at this side, fellas. The reality is a lot of games are trash nowadays anyway. A lot of games are woke, political garbage. They're not that good. Let's be honest. So listen, even though this media going away is a disgrace, let's be honest, most games suck nowadays anyway. And the only games that are actually good are either some Japanese games or remasters of the golden era games. So let's be honest, it's not like the disc itself sucks doing away with it. It's the end of an era. But I do think you can move away from this, from gaming altogether, and just partake in other endeavors. Start a business. Get a better paying job. Spend more time with family. Join other activities. I don't know, join a soccer team or something. There's other things to life more than gaming. And to be honest, guys, if they're really pushing the players that have been loyal for all these years, then they're not worth our attention, you know. And if you invest in yourself, you can make more money, you can live a better life. Maybe it's time for us to move away from gaming. Or again, if you want to continue gaming and you don't want to give up on it, then PC gaming is my suggestion. But if you guys like my content, please hit the like button. If you guys like this kind of videos I like to create, react to some articles or videos, please hit the subscribe button. If you guys disagree with my thoughts or want to give me some pushback or agree with my thoughts, comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.